Hey creatives, Robert Silver here, and as creatives, it's no surprise that from time to time we run into a artistic roadblock. We begin by noticing that our style has perhaps plateaued a little bit. We start blaming it on the camera that we have, or even the lenses that we don't even own yet, ultimately leading us to feel a bit bored in the process of taking photos. This year, for sure, creative fatigue has hit me hard in numerous ways. In this video, I want to share with you what brought me to this point, but also what I chose to do to elevate my photography. Before I get into this video, I want to let you know that if you're looking to step up your photography game, feel free to attend any of my upcoming portrait photography and photo editing workshops. Head to my website at robertsilverphotography.com, click workshops for dates and details. One thing you have to do is quit making excuses. These excuses I was telling myself was ultimately me trying to reason with myself about why I started to begin to feel more bored. This year in particularly, this year more specific than any other year, I've noticed that I have become more bored about photography, going through the same routine, looking for a model, producing a shoot, and posting it, editing everything. I just became more and more bored about the whole process. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I haven't been shooting nearly as much as I have over the past few years. And it's because, honestly, I just start to feel bored about the whole process. But really, some of that was also some of the excuses I was telling myself, sometimes even blaming it on the time or the location that I happen to live in, that the style of work that I want to get more into just isn't there, or money, and obviously being able to travel to certain places and having the locations I would love to shoot at. Ultimately, I was just making excuses, because if you search Instagram right now, you can find numerous photographers in the Midwest or wherever they are in the world, and they still happen to make an awesome set of images and have a thriving career. So I started to piece that together and started to realize that I was the biggest problem, not necessarily all these other little micro excuses that I was making up for myself to make me feel better and to justify me being bored in the process of taking photos. Another thing is that it has nothing to do with your gear. You might have seen my most recent video where I talk about how clients don't buy your camera gear, they pay for results. You can click on the link above for that video. But it's really true. That also means when it involves you. It has nothing to do with your camera gear. Sure, camera gears are tools, whether it be your lenses and your camera bodies, obviously, and lighting too. They all help you to produce the kind of results that you're wanting to achieve. But really, I've seen too many times where camera gear is your biggest roadblock mentally. It's not going to stop you from trying new things out. It's not going to stop you from taking a photo at night or during the day or even during harsh lighting at 1 p.m. You can still go out there, experiment, and try it out. A lot of times I hear people saying that is the reason why they don't do more night photography, because it's the kind of camera they have or the kind of lenses they have. Regardless of the camera or the lenses, just go out there and experiment. Learn what it is that this camera truly is holding you back from doing the doing that kind of photography, let's say night photography, and then you'll have a better sense of what camera is going to help solve that problem. Your gear is to solve problems. That's your job as a photographer, is to solve problems with light and shadow and balancing those two elements together. It's not necessarily for you to, your camera gear isn't there to prop up an ego. Your ego can never be fed enough, so it's never satisfied. So stop blaming it on your camera gear, because it's probably not the camera gear. More than likely, it's you. So ultimately, as I said, it has nothing to do with the camera gear, and why you feel you're perhaps feeling more bored in your photography, or your photography has just kind of plateaued. Okay, so this next one, I know this may seem surprising, but a lack of confidence. That really hit me this year, when I've noticed my style is kind of plateaued, my projects have plateaued, and I've become really bored, honestly, in photography. Not in the teaching, but definitely the process of taking photos. I was producing, I could produce high quality images pretty easily. I'm very familiar with the lighting, the setups to solve problems during harsh lighting, sunset, whatever, etc. And I just kind of plateaued. And I started to lose confidence in myself, and being able to elevate and stay creative, so that my creative juices are still not only still flowing, but my creative ego, I guess, is still satisfied. I like to step out of my comfort zone, and when I feel like I'm not doing that as much, I got bored. A lot of times with the lack of confidence also comes with that, where we feel, whether we want to admit it or not, that we're not ready for the next level. And that's what I think was, for me, where that the root of my lack of self-confidence. Not confidence in this terms of me being able to take care of a client professionally, produce amazing photos, have people think, have people say, oh, these are great and whatnot, and get paid for my work. Sure, that confidence is there. That obviously, I'm very confident that I could handle any project that comes at me. If not, I'd be more than glad to take up the challenge. But in the confidence of me staying innovative and creative in my own personal, toward my own personal creative goals. Really, it was just the fact that I started noticing I wasn't confident that I'm ready for the next level. That's what I'm really talking about. When we hit a plateau, it's really because we're seeking to challenge ourselves, to prepare ourselves to get to that next level. Really, that plateau is saying, hey, you're ready, take it up a notch, go for it. Now, that lack of confidence may keep us on that plateau. And once we're able to stamp that lack of confidence out of our existence, boom, then we notice we've hit that next level, and then all sorts of new opportunities, new problems, fun problems come before us, and we're able to smash it. That's what I think ultimately stops a lot of us creatives, especially when we start to feel a little bored, or we start blaming it on our camera gear, is that lack of confidence that we're ready for the next level in our photography. Now, the last thing I want to mention is, I think ultimately one of the most important things you can do to not only to get you out of that creative rut is getting out of your comfort zone. One thing is, I like doing landscapes. I don't claim to be a landscape photographer per se. Definitely am not an expert at it. I know there's tons of things I need to learn about it, but I love how getting out of the studio, getting out of the city, going to where nature is, more or less, to a national park or something, and just being totally out of my element. Landscape photography, I have no control over the environment, the weather, definitely the lighting, or what the subject may be that day. I love that it kind of takes me out, it kind of pulls the rug underneath me out of my normal control of everything. In portrait photography, I can control the lighting, the subject, the location, at least the choice of it. So landscape kind of pulls me out of, so doing landscape photography or even street photography really helps me to keep my creative juices flowing. Another benefit of stepping out of your comfort zone kind of brings you back to stage one. After a while, once you hit a plateau, you're pretty much comfortable with taking a good photo, because you've learned to control every element and every step in the process of taking that photo. One thing that I like to do is do an entire photo shoot with just one lens. Over the years, I've acquired numerous lenses. I'm very happy with all of them. I still have all of them, and I bring all of them to all of my shoots, regardless of the size of the project that I think I'm shooting. Sometimes I like to flip the script, invite a model to shoot, and only take one lens. So doing those things kind of forces me back to stage one, in that fun, creative, childlike moment in photography. Even though I have all the gear and I have experience, sure, but forcing myself to step out of my comfort zone allows me to all of a sudden ask questions again, to solve problems again, to overcome certain hurdles. So don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone, because that is going to be honestly one of the biggest things that's going to help you get out of that creative fatigue. With all that said, here's what happened to me. This year I started to hit a plateau. I became a little bored. I started realizing a question I kept asking myself was, what got me into photography? What made me happy in the process of taking photos? What am I here for ultimately? Like, it was very philosophical, deep, introspective questions I was asking myself. And I started realizing, I got into it really because I had a passion for video, for filmmaking. It started when I was doing martial arts when I was younger, in my early 20s, late teens, and a lot of my buddies were flipping and doing all these tricks and jumping around, and we decided to put together like a martial art little stunt team. And with that, I bought a camera. I was the only one in the group with a camera, and I started recording each other doing these tricks and kung fu scenarios and everything. And I started to notice I love filmmaking. I like the process, finding out angles, creative ways to capture motion. And then not only that, the post-processing was really fun for me too. Later on, I decided to go to Academy of Art, in which I wanted to be a film director, as I mentioned in my previous videos. With that, they put a film camera in my hand, and the rest is history. Photography kind of bit me hard, and life took its course. But here we are in 2019, in which I feel this creative fatigue really coming on strong, and I want to really see what brought me here. What was the passion that brought me here? And that was filmmaking. And that's why you've seen, if you follow me on Instagram, if you haven't, feel free to, at Robert Silver Photography. I've been posting more video and film projects, and also on YouTube as well, and under the film name Day One Films. And I realized that not only has it rejuvenized my creative passion in just creating good work, being a creative, an artist most importantly, but also it's rejuvenated and really appreciated my knowledge in the 10 years of experience of photography has given me, because that has built my foundation in filmmaking. That is what helped me to elevate my game in photography. Now, when I approach photography, I'm also thinking how I would shoot this if I was doing video. Now, the good thing about video is that it encompasses even more variables to worry about, or more problems to solve. Now we're talking about audio. Now we're talking about motion. And definitely, for sure, we're talking about lighting. And then at the end of all, the post-processing is even more intense. Now, yes, Lightroom or Capture One solves a lot of problems for sure. And then the sweet sauce is your Photoshop post-processing. But with filmmaking, now you have a whole thing about sharpness affects your images on a whole nother level. Lighting for sure, because you tend to be lighting for sure, because it helps to really evoke emotion and character in your film or in the project that you're shooting. And then of course audio, which will kill the entire project if you don't have solid audio. So I just like the fact that it adds even more challenges for me to have to overcome. Videography is just another level of photography to me. It was natural for me to progress from photography to video, and then thus here we are. I do not claim to be an instructor or teacher or anything in video, but I will be posting my video projects from time to time on this channel in a separate playlist called Day One Films, my latest film projects. So you can feel free to check those out. I'd love to hear your comments, critiques of what you think I can do to help elevate my film projects. At the same time, I will be bringing more and more portrait photography tutorials, because I do love doing portraits, taking photos, whether it be fashion, beauty, or just good old corporate headshots. I love still doing that, and I want to bring more of that knowledge to all of you and share that. If you have any questions, feel free to post those down below. I want to hear from you. What do you think? Have you hit a creative rut? What did you do to get out of it? Can you relate to any of the process in creative fatigue that I came into? Either way, I want to hear all that down below. And if you like this video and you want to hear more, don't forget to hit that like, share, and of course, subscribe to my channel. I'm Robert Silver. Until next time, keep shooting and stay creative.